All right, you glorious grasshoppers, the day and the hour that a lot of people just sit around and wait for all week long are roughly 40 minutes we have with the great Ali Krug. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm sorry about this weird thing hanging out over my head. I'm waiting for a new laptop because I crashed mine. It got rusty. It couldn't keep up with me. Too many drops.
If you move over a little bit, it looks like you're just sitting right on top of your head.
I know, right? I have to go this way. Like it's part of my head. I am.
So Ali, just to be clear, in case anybody has not seen her before, Ali is an epidemiologist. She has her own company, ABC Medical Writing. Fantastic family, great mother, great wife. Again, her husband has served in the Navy for over 20 years now. Two great hockey playing sons that are intelligent and are the biggest arms in Virginia Beach, biggest biceps. Well, maybe not though. There's a lot of Navy SEALs and no other military guys around there, so they've got nice arms. But how is everybody doing?
Everybody's doing great, thank you. Sam is doing great. He's working out. He's a 16-year-old, and get this, Tom, you'll be so proud of him. He's learning to drive on a stick shift.
Oh, on a stick shift! Wow.
Stick shift, like necessity is the mother of invention. We only have two cars, and one was an old Xterra, Nissan Xterra. Right. So it's definitely a 5-speed, and but I think the one saving grace is it's yellow, and so I kind of feel like we're a huge target. Most people will see us before we cause too much trouble.
Now, how are you? You pretty calm when you're teaching in the car and teaching your kids to drive?
I think you'll have to ask Sam. I think I'm pretty calm. There are times when I'm like, okay, turn. And then I have what I call the grandma drill. Because, when you're first starting to learn to drive, you don't have turning timing down. Like you turn almost too late. You have to start turning into the turn and then turn out of the turn, right? So he doesn't. So every now and then he's about to take trash cans out or about to take other things out. And then there's moms with strollers and babies and dogs. And after school time is terribly, terribly nerve wracking. So I'm like, we're not leaving first gear for this part of the road. But I have what I call the grandma drill because grandmas can sometimes, or other people, it seems like pink is if you're wearing a pink sweatshirt or a pink sweater, you're liable to do something unexpected is my experience driving with Sam. So it's the pink sweatshirt drill. And it's basically like we're driving along and we've switched drivers. So he's now behind the wheel and he's driving. And basically he's meant to creep along, feathering the clutch and the gas, And then all of a sudden I'm like, Sam, pink sweatshirt. And that's his drill. He's got to be able to stop the truck instantly because you have to know how to do that.
Oh, okay.
So we do that drill a couple times. So now I've come up with a new game. I think we have a whole bunch of boxes in the garage. So I was thinking in our little cul-de-sac, he would be driving and I would just throw boxes and see if he could just stop in time. No one did that for me when I was learning to drive, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think you want to do it because you're going to have fun doing it. That's why you want to do it.
Yes. Right? And knowing Sam, he'll probably try to drive over the boxes. But anyway, I'm so proud of him because nothing is more nerve-wracking than doing both learning to drive and a stick shift at the same time.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's a good idea, actually, really. I mean, because now he knows how to stick shift, too. I was terrible with my son's driving. I don't know if it was a control issue with me or whatever. I felt like they were going to wipe out the mirror and the telephone poles on the side and everything. I was like, whoa, look out! What are you?
Yeah. No, it is nerve wracking. And then I start laughing when we're out of danger. I start laughing. He's like, boom! He just punches me because he's like, shut up.
We had one scene with my oldest son Shane, and he was fine. It was all me. A school bus was coming towards us, and it had yellow flashing lights, and he starts speeding up. And in fairness to him, it hadn't turned red. It was just a yellow lights. I said, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And again, it wasn't just me saying, "What are you doing?" I'm outraged now. Like, "What are you doing?" Yelling at him. So he finally slams on the brakes where he didn't have to. And there's like about 20 cars behind us, and we're standing there. We're sitting in the car arguing right in the middle of the road, and all the cars could get by. Yeah, I was terrible. It was me too. It was just he was fine, and just me overreacting his fault. All right, so we're doing a poll, and I'm asking everybody their opinion that I have a show with.
Okay.
So I love dogs. You have dogs?
I've had dogs many, many years. We just don't right now.
Okay. So I love dogs. I don't have a dog right now either. I live in a condominium complex. And generally speaking, everybody's very polite, and they try to respect everybody else's. I don't know if it's me or if it's something that's happened. Lately in the afternoons, it seems like the dogs all want to bark. And it seems like the owners are just saying that maybe they've given up and said, screw it, let them bark. Because they're not doing anything to try to stop the dogs from barking. So now first of all, the first question is, should I let it bother me? Okay. And the second question then is, what should I do about it if I feel like I should do something about it? What do you think?
Well, I have to find out why it would bother you trying to do a little Tom nap because you got up.
If I'm trying to work, okay, so it's been nice weather. So everybody's got their windows open, including me. So but the problem is the dog owners, one dog will start to bark because somebody will walk by. Then they all start barking. So then if I'm doing a business call, I've got to close my windows so that somebody else can have their windows open so the dog can bark. So I
think it's one of those things, Tom, that is out of our control. And there's really nothing you can do about it. All you can do is control how you respond to it. And
now I'll tell you how I responded to it. You'll love this one. The other day I had a couple of beverages, adult beverages. And it was later in the day, and it was a nice day, and I was sitting out on my back deck, and the dogs all started barking, so I started barking.
Did you? That's awesome.
And I had to outbark them, and I thought it was just hilarious at the time. I woke up in the morning thinking, oh, God, I've got to live in this place now. Think I'm nuts.
Well, that's a good sense of humor. I hope they enjoyed that.
I don't think they did.
You could try howling,
there's a little bit of everything. I had the whole dog thing going on pretty good. I feel bad because they know who I am, right? And, playing hockey and the fights and all that kinds of stuff. So one guy, he's not a very large gentleman or whatever. He hasn't worked out or much. Yeah. So he walks this one dog that barks all the time. And now we used to say hello to each other. And now he runs the other way now. So, yeah.
Well, keep your good sense of humor and, let the dogs bark. It's a pandemic. Let them have their time. They're talking about how annoying this whole thing is, and maybe they're not getting out walked as much. And, maybe they're having some dog depression and difficult times. We just can't judge.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, good. See that when I do my Thursday show with my old teammates, it's not like, let's go shoot the dogs, they don't actually say that, but I mean, there's no empathy whatsoever. It's not, right. You call the ASPCA or whatever it is and get the dogs taken away from the owners. Yeah, speaking of that, we were talking before the show, and I got a gentleman that I really don't know that well on Facebook, really motivational guy, and he's asked people that he's seen on TV or whatever with the most motivational story to send in a video of something that they've done to help other people or different things. And so I did that, and I started following him more. And he had this fantastic young girl on, and she's gonna be doing a show with me. It's Jillian A. Brown. She's done a lot of shows. Apparently, she's got a really interesting story, sad story, but good story, where she was abused by a gentleman that she was living with for about 5 years. And the physical and mental abuse, and finally got to the point where she left, and she had a business together. She had to leave everything. She left with $300 and a dog, and bought a tent off a woman on the side of the road. Lived in this tent for 7 months. To her, that was better than continuing to be abused. And she's really made herself into a real success story now, not only for herself but for other people. And we're doing a show tomorrow. It's tomorrow at 3:00 my time. We're going to be on. Okay. Facebook here, and you and I have touched on this, like the mental health issues now is all the time, and abuse issues, physical and emotional abuse, and it's even worse now because of the pandemic, right? And I know you do a lot of stuff for that, so I'm really looking forward to doing the show with her. I'm hoping it goes well. We'll do it on a regular basis. And she's got a lot of insight at it. She's obviously been through it herself, but a lot of insight on other people's issues too. The one thing I wanted to mention with you. When we think of abuse, typically a man abusing a woman, right. You think of the physical abuse. But I'm realizing more and more now, and actually looking back at people that I even knew in the past, the mental abuse is even worse, right? And it leaves it doesn't leave physical scars, but it leaves other scars on.
Yeah, I'm no expert in this area by any means, but just talking to people and having enough years under my belt now, I know that it can also go both ways. It can go female to male. It's less common, but it does happen. And, one of my colleagues that I was actually helping work on a paper has been looking into this too, and looking into couples treatment and for people in corrections, associated with corrections programs and incarcerated folks. And, where one couple maybe was incarcerated while the other wasn't. There's lots of stressors in those couples, substance abuse and things like that. But her research showed that having I hear my phone is going off. I don't know if you can hear that in the background.
Yeah, fine.
I'm sorry. It's a Japanese.
Sounds like a pigeon or a bird or something like that. Or
it's my younger son Ben yelling at me and swearing at me in Japanese. That's my ringtone. I apologize, but I just find it hilarious to be yelled at.
That's funny,
odd, right? But anyway, so she's done a lot of really interesting and promising research regarding how to reach folks who are in really dire straits, really desperate straits, and help them make healthier life choices and about physical health and eating and exercise, and mental health, and even substance abuse prevention. So it'll be interesting for you to chat with Jillian, and I'll try to tune in tomorrow if I can.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and I guess it's a general. I'm making kind of a general question. I guess this is. It seems like these men that I see mentally abusing women, like it seems like they've got a plan. Like they've got a strategy to how they do that. Like they isolate them, they take control of the money, make it so that the woman feels like she just can't go anywhere. To me, I was like,
well, I think that's a bit enlightened calling it a plan. I think it's really just a strategic thinker. If you want to control a situation, I think those are just kind of like obvious steps. I don't think there's any playbook that they read. They just kind of, are controlling. But yeah, that is typically how it happens.
But I mean, it's like to know. I mean, like you said, it's a strategy.
Mm-hmm.
To me, they go into a relationship. Do you think they're going into the relationship saying, "Okay, this is the way I'm going to control her"?
No, I just mean like if you were to, I don't know, and you're in hockey, right? There are some things that are instinctive about how to play the game of hockey, right?
Yeah. Right.
In hockey sense, and I think that in people who have dysfunctional relationships, I think that they fall into patterns that end up looking like that. And so, in retrospect, it looks like a strategy hatched from the beginning, but I don't think it is. I think it's just an unhealthy dynamic that evolves.
Wow.
But again, I'm not an expert at all.
Right. And you see so many times too, I guess I don't totally understand it, but it doesn't matter. It's not, you don't have to explain it to me, why women stay so long too. I think it's that fear that, okay, what am I going to do now?
Well, I was actually just listening to a man explaining why he stuck it out in a relationship where this was happening, coming from the woman's side. And I think it's probably similar in the converse as well, as you just keep thinking it's going to get better. And as soon as it gets really bad and you think you're going to have to take some action, the pressure valve gets opened and you feel some sense of, hope that it might get better. And you're in a place where you can actually manage for a time. And so you drop the idea of having to move on or change your life circumstances, because that's really
yeah. My landscaper again.
Oh, okay.
He's going,
that doesn't
same
sound
guy. He's going, well, Allie's on. I'm going to come with the air blower or the leaf blower.
Yeah. So I mean, it can go both ways, unfortunately, in relationships, and I just think that it's really difficult because you want things to work, right? And there is the potential that it can work, but both parties need to make it possible.
Yeah, I agree. Before I forget too, the reason I bring this up is Allie is down in Virginia Beach, obviously, and the reason I met her is Bob Bazzini, who I've done some shows with before in the past. He was in the Navy as well. He's on the board of this Warrior for Life Fund. I'm an ambassador for that on that board.
Right.
And we had a comedy night. There's a sports radio personality here that's a pretty famous guy in the New York area. It's Craig Carton. And he's got a show in the afternoon. And he's been through some struggles himself. He's got a gambling addiction, actually had to go away to jail for about 3 years, has gotten help now, and is out helping other people. So him and I are friends from doing some charity things. He knew I was on this board, and it's a long-winded story. The guy that runs the comedy club, this Steve Mazzilli, he and his family own the Gotham Comedy Club in Manhattan. They put the event on, and all the proceeds, all the ticket sales it will go to the Warrior for Life Fund, and they raised close to $10,000. It was a fun night. It was
wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. You've been doing so many amazing things, Tom. Your calendar is just full.
Well, we've talked about this in the past. Well, thank you for the compliment. I got to tell you, I feel like I'm so much I hope I say this the right way, but I feel like I get so much out of it too. Yeah. I was at the event, the comedy event, and I was leaving, and a gentleman working security, a tall guy, came up to me, grabbed my hand, and he was really emotional about it too. He says, "I just want to thank you for all you're doing for the military." And I said, "I'm assuming you served in the military," and he was in the Army, and he wouldn't let go of the hand. And, I said, "Well, it's a real honor to be doing this stuff, and my pleasure." He says, "No, Tom, he really wanted to emphasize how much he appreciated what I was doing." So I've been lucky. Now we've got this walk coming up October 3rd on Sunday at 1:00 for people in this area at the Westchester Community College, and that's for Alzheimer's. And we got a package put together too. And if I told you this, where we have a goal of trying to raise $10,000 for grassroots.
Yes.
Not there. We're going a little slower than we'd like to, but we've got the package of people who can come over for the dinner. And I told you this, I think, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's so fantastic.
Yeah.
I wish there was more I could do to help you with that.
That's good. No, you're doing that.
Is that that's not? We have family on Long Island.
That's up Westchester County, which is
Yeah.
like I'm actually in Greenwich, Connecticut, but Westchester County is directly beside Fairfield County, which Greenwich is in. It's a big area. It's a pretty wealthy. Well, it's got all different kinds. It's got some wealthier areas, like a lot of places. But.
Well, I hope you have really great weather.
Yes, thank you. They actually had we had a gentleman on the show, really interesting guy. This Glenn Vogt. He's got a restaurant in Tarrytown, New York, which is right by the Tappan Zee Bridge. It's called the Mario Cuomo Bridge now, but nobody wants to call it that because of the Cuomos. But he's got a great restaurant, the River Market Bar and Kitchen, and he was actually. What's that?
I'm writing everything down.
Okay.
So a journalist I know and really respects lives up in that area.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
good.
He's actually testifying before Congress tomorrow, I think.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Very interesting. And he was actually, this Glenn Vogt was actually the general manager of the Window in the Worlds at the top of the Twin Towers when it was taken down. He was not there, obviously, but lost I think they 76 workers he had lost their lives, and they had a conference going on that time. So it was a total of 130 people that were there and all lost their lives. But they've been great. They put together a scholarship fund. I think it was like $30 million they raised. Mayor Bloomberg, who was mayor after it happened, he helped them out with that, and it was all to pay for. They'd have to apply to them, but help them pay for college. And so now, because it's 20 years later, now it's some of the grandkids are now applying for college. So yeah. So to me, it's one of those things, right? Where like you've talked, something bad happens, and it's clear that was very more than bad. And somebody's done something good from it. It's helped.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting thing that you bring up because. A couple of things. You and I both really want to do as much as we can good in the world. And sometimes I feel so incredibly limited. And it's hard to find the one little thing that you can do to make a difference. But you're aware of the Afghan refugees who were airlifted out of Afghanistan and are trying to make their way here in this country. I've heard a couple stories while I'm driving to and from the rink. So while I'm behind the wheel with the kids on the way to and from the rink, that's about 4 hours a week that we can actually talk about what's going on in the world and things potentially where we could make a difference. In the story of these Afghan refugees who are well trained, they have, IT credentials and certifications from Afghanistan that they just need to convert to US compatible credentials so they could get a job and things like that. So difficult for them to pay for that and to find their way in this country. They want to preserve their dignity. So I was thinking with my kids about what could we do? There are relief organizations. And one of the ideas they had was, buying an Amazon or a Kroger or a Food Lion or, a Walmart gift card and giving it to the relief organization. Then they can give it to the families because it's nice for them to be able to go and buy their own groceries or their own goods versus taking a handout, right? It preserves their sense of dignity. So I was talking to the kids about that, and I had this great idea that, the hockey team would maybe raise some money and we'd be able to buy gift cards, but I wanted to approach it carefully and slowly through the organization and not just drop this idea on the team. And I'm glad we went slowly through this because it's not so easy if you've actually served in Afghanistan and, invested your, I was going to say your heart and soul, but that seems so trite, invested your energy and risked your life and separated yourself from your family to go and do something, serve the mission, serve the country there. And then you come back and you're just dismayed at how things were done and the regrets and not regret, maybe that's the wrong word, but just wishing that things could have been perhaps done differently. And hindsight is always 20/20, right? And you and I have both said we appreciate that those in power have really difficult decisions in front of them. And, no one's saying that they could do it any better, but it forced me to realize from this coach's perspective, who had actually been there, that it's not so straightforward to just, I just really want to go help, the Afghan refugees, because for him, it was all caught up in one huge mess. He can appreciate wanting to serve and help those who are, disadvantaged by all of this and moved here to the US and have nothing. He can definitely have an empathetic and charitable spirit, but the whole operation just kind of tainted his ability to leap right into, my younger son Ben's idea for providing some help and getting the team on board with that. So it takes time sometimes to do something big.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying that idea was big. It was just bigger outside of my family. It would just be one of the things I like doing is kind of having conversations with kids who are old enough, in their teen years, beyond even their stressful lives and their busy schedules and their frustrations with wearing masks or, whatever is annoying about the pandemic. Beyond all of that, there's world problems that I like them to be aware of and, try to think about what we can do. And it was just interesting to go through that with them and try to think about, kind of like you've been doing, find opportunities to make a difference, but then tread carefully into it. Don't just expect everyone to jump onto your great idea, because you have to appreciate where others are coming from too.
That is true, right? I mean, you want to do this great thing. Years ago, when I was in the agent business, I represented a young player who was sexually abused by his junior coach. It's a very public story. It's Sheldon Kennedy. And, there's a lot of damage to him mentally and emotionally. And when he finally went to court and the gentleman was convicted and put in jail, he immediately, and with my help too, he wanted to put a ranch together to help other abused kids. And he had a gentleman that was willing to donate the land and the horses and the whole bit. And again, it's similar. I know it's this big story, but bottom line is Sheldon was not ready for that yet. He wasn't healthy enough. And I didn't see that. I thought, okay, this is all taken care of. Now let's build this ranch and get going. And the NHL and the NHLPA put a group of doctors together to help players with a lot of different issues, drug and alcohol issues. But they were fantastic. And I remember them saying to me, "Tom, Sheldon's not ready for that." And I was like, "What are you talking?" The stubborn me was like, "What are you talking about? Sure, he's ready. He just the gentleman's put in jail. Let's get this done." And looking back, that was the thing. We just go slowly, right? One step at a time.
Yeah.
And I learned a big lesson from that. So we got another former player, Barry Beck, was captain of the Rangers, fantastic player, great guy, living over. He's in China, I think now. He was working on a hockey program over there, and he was very good friends with Mark Pavlich, who played for the Olympic team. Mark's story was he was living up in the woods in Minnesota, and he really developed some mental health issues himself. Got in some legal trouble. He hurt one of his neighbors, and was incarcerated, and then was found not fit to stand trial. And Barry really stood by him. And the plan was that I think the plan still is that they're going to try to build a ranch themselves to help just anybody they can.
It's so great, Tom. You have to get involved. I've wanted you to start a ranch for so long.
Yeah. My concern, here's my concern though, and I love the concept, and I'm with you 100%. There's many facilities now, like the NHL players, the NHL alumni. Like in Mark's case, they get funded by the NHL and the NHL Players Association. And so when people need help, when former players need help with their family, they send them there's many places around the country where they can send them to get the help they need. Are already there. I guess my concern with trying to build a new ranch, first of all, you got to raise the money to build a ranch. You got to have the money to fund the ranch on a yearly basis, hire people, the liability issues and all that. When there's places already out there, listen, I love it that they want to help people. It's just I'm concerned that it's a huge project, not just to get it put up, but to maintain it. What if you build the ranch and then it goes bankrupt? You can't afford to pay. Right. I hope it happens. I wish them the best with it, and I'd love to help them any way I can. But it's a big project. But
it is. Yeah, it's a really, really big project. I totally appreciate that. I guess, in everything, in policy conversations, and in, setting up charitable organizations and things like that, the go slow approach, the be cautious approach, I think is a good middle ground. I do feel like so many things with this pandemic have been just full steam ahead. We think we have this great thing and let's do this. And, and I just, for anybody out there who's been kind of watching the myocarditis issue and the heart inflammation in the young men, for anybody of your grasshoppers who are out there and know that I work on this issue, I just want to say, like, really clearly and openly that myself and my colleagues who are researching this are not opposed to vaccination at all. And we do not feel that people should think about vaccination as all or nothing, like 2 doses or nothing. That's not how we think about it at all. We're thinking about risks and benefits in a really complex sort of way, including a person's own health status. Do they have comorbidities or not? Have they ever had COVID or not? Because that changes your immune profile. If you've already had COVID, then you do have some immunity, in which case you may not need 2 doses. Might not even be a good idea if you're a young man in that risk profile. So it's just unfortunate, though, that so many things get put into this like black or white. And if you want to be cautious and you want to go slowly and you want to ask questions and be sensitive to, a lot of considerations that are not terribly clear, then you're somehow, considered to be an insensitive and uncaring person who wants children to die. And nothing could be further from the truth. That just has weighed really heavily on me this week, because there are going to be tragic circumstances where kids do get COVID. And they, bad things have happened. We have lost children to COVID. So I just wanted to put that out there very, very clearly that, this has been in the headlines for a couple of weeks now, and we are still continuing to research it and look carefully, as are other nations and the pharmaceutical companies as well. But the information is kind of coming out relatively slowly and not sliced and diced as much as we would like, to allow us to make the nuanced decisions that we'd like to make. So,
yeah. It's interesting. I did a podcast yesterday with Kevin Allen that used to write with USA Today. We do a hockey podcast, and he's really up on things. He lives in the Detroit area. And there's a very good player, this Bertuzzi, playing for the Detroit Red Wings. He's the only guy on the team that has decided not to get vaccinated. And it was really interesting thinking about it. Like, I really hadn't thought about that kind of stuff. Okay, if I'm on that team, what are all ramifications? Well, first of all, he can't travel to Canada because of Canada's restrictions. And he's one of the best players on the Detroit Red Wings. Wow. And then there's the issues, too, that imagine the guys on the team that have families. They have wife at home, girlfriend at home, kids. They're trusting him that he hasn't gone someplace where he could contract the virus. And my reaction was, I don't know the young man. I don't know why he made the decision. So my first reaction, and it's kind of unfair to say this, I almost feel like it's kind of selfish, right? If everybody else, like, you're supposed to be on a team, your kids play on a team. The team thing, especially in hockey, is such a big thing. I guess this is a unique situation. Obviously, you're putting something into your body. This isn't like, the old days when we played, it was the team. We were required, we all had to go for a beer together, or we all had to fight for each other. So this is different, but
now, people who choose not to get vaccinated, as you well know, have lots of reasons for why they choose to take that position, and we can't possibly begin to know what his thoughts are. And the fact of the matter is, for young men, 12 through at least 24, it might be 39, there is a reasonable, it's somewhere probably less than 1 in 10,000 risk. Meaning more common than 1 in 10,000 risk that myocarditis could happen. And the hospitalizations are maybe around 2 days, 86% or so, maybe higher, up to 96% of them are hospitalized. There is some unknown, potential for ongoing cardiac damage. And so, for us to judge and say, well, you're just being completely selfish. I have no idea why you wouldn't get just 2 doses, on schedule, is really being short-sighted about the amount of thinking that this person may have already done. It's also possible that, there's plenty of misinformation out there too. It's possible that they could be thinking it's much more certain to happen after vaccination, or maybe nobody has taken the time to say that COVID can have serious complications as well. COVID can be a really bad disease to get. For an athlete to get COVID and then to have myocarditis happen, we don't really know. It could be longer-term problems, or the person could get through COVID in a breeze. We don't really know. So it's like the kind of conversation that you should have with a doctor. And once you've had that conversation and you're comfortable with your risk profile, then, I think people should be allowed to make more decisions on their own. I think that mandates are a real problem when it becomes one size fits all and you have to do this regardless. I have a real problem with that. Because humans were not created that way. And certainly for this particular thing, young men have a very different risk profile than young women. Right. But that being said, I think there should be more room for, a person to say, I'm willing to do 1 dose because it does offer me the protection against severe disease and hospitalization, pretty good protection. Mm-hmm. And that's really what we worry about on an individual basis. When we're talking about a team and transmission and traveling together in hotels and crossing international lines, that's no longer an individual's risk profile that we're worried about. That's like the team needs to move as a unit, and we want you to do it for logistical reasons. And so now we're in the realm of, it's not a personal decision anymore. We're trying to force you into, a policy box to make it easier for all of us. And, I think those of us who want that outcome need to recognize that that's somewhat selfish on us too. make it simpler. So,
I'm trying to think of the logic behind this player, because he's a very good player. He's dreamed all his life probably to get to the National Hockey League. He's there now. He's in the prime of his career, making lots of money. So he must have put if everybody else on the team and most players around the league are getting vaccinated, he must have put a lot of thought into why he does not want to get it, right? I mean, I'm hoping he put a lot of thought into it and a lot of research. And when I didn't see the press conference, but when Kevin was talking about it, he mentioned his family, the player mentioned his family and his girlfriend several times, that they made the decision together. So it sounds like he put a lot of thought into it. So because it's got some ramifications, both for him as an individual athlete, as a person, and for the team, because he's such a good player. And there's other players around the league, scattered around the league that done the same. There's one player, this Carcillo, that was going to go to Chicago Blackhawks on a tryout. He was told he just couldn't come to training camp because he had not been vaccinated either. So, tough stuff. That's the kind of stuff I really didn't think through. That these are going to be some tough decisions for these athletes, and for lots of people. I don't mean we're just
it really is. I mean, it is for universities as well. I mean, it's just the whole. It's complicated, Tom. So say a child goes to university and is not vaccinated and gets COVID from their roommate. So you think, well, if you've been vaccinated, what a tragedy, a missed opportunity to prevent disease. And then you think about, well, when kids go away to college, they get lots of things. I personally got mono when I was away. I have no idea how I got it. It's thought to be the kissing sickness, but I didn't kiss anybody. I didn't share any toothbrushes.
Sure.
No idea how I got mono. Yeah. I was very sick. I had to trudge down to the ER in the snow by myself with these tonsils that were massive. I was a mess for a good while. Wow. So things happen in college, and it occurs to me that I don't know how young kids learn to take care of themselves while they're away. Like, when do they know, hey, I'm actually really in kind of some trouble here and I need to go to an urgent care clinic or, the ER? Because I think young men really look at themselves as being somewhat invincible.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Now, as a mom of a young man who's about to go away, I'm like, we're in training ground now. So every cold is a learning experience, Right. When is it that the line has been drawn and it's now time to get help? So we were just talking about that.
Men don't, even at 63 years old, men don't know when to,
This is going to be rough for me, Tom. This is why I had a little bit of a mental health issue yesterday. I'm already staring down empty nest syndrome with one young man leaving. I'm getting this lovely time of teaching him how to drive.
That's right.
I'll never forget.
That's right. I forgot about that. I'll never forget. My oldest son, Shane, was going off to college. He was going for the visit during the summer. And I took him to LaGuardia Airport, dropped him off. And I really wasn't feeling any kind of sad or anything like that. I was just walking in. I was still that protective father, he's 18 or whatever, so he could have done it himself. And I walk him to the go through the security, and he's walking away. I started crying. I started getting teary-eyed, and he's dying laughing at me. And he still makes fun of me. He makes fun of me now for the days. He says, I'm leaving. Don't start crying. I'm leaving. Don't start crying. But it was amazing, right? Because it was one of those things that there was no build up to it. I wasn't driving there feeling like, oh my God, this is terrible. I was leaving.
And you're like,
just hit me. Seeing him walk away from me like that was like, but it's hilarious now. He constantly, he's 13 years later, and he's still laughing at me about it. So.
No, there are moments. My younger son, Ben, did the same thing. We had this conversation last week, Tom, right? About checking and injuries and things like that. And just, my feelings on that. And Ben is like, Mom, it's fine. I have to learn. I'm learning a lot. I want to play at this level. And so I remember watching him. It was a weekend full of 4 games. I watched him walk away. And I was like, okay, I have to trust him on this. He's got his bag over his shoulder, and there he is, little 13-year-old, my youngest. I'm like, he's not all that young anymore. I do need to allow him to carry his own, metaphorical and literal bag.
That is true. You do have to let him go. My youngest one, I don't know if I told the story, when he broke his arm, it was Memorial Day weekend. It was rainy. We had a boat at the time, and we had bought a trampoline that floated on the water, and you could do it, had big tubes and everything. But I blew it up, put it on the front yard, give the kids something to do. We're inside having a beer.
Wait a minute, I missed something. You had a floating trampoline.
Floating trampoline, yes, yeah.
I've never heard such a thing.
I know, it was great. I don't know how we found out about it or whatever. And you take it, you blow it up, and you tie it to the boat, and they jump up and down and everything. So they're out in the front yard. I did not realize they were tipping it up on the side with somebody on the top, and they were jumping. So my son on the top, he fell, jumped down, landed, hit his arm hyper extended, so they went the wrong way.
Yeah.
So he comes to the door, he rings the doorbell, and And he stands there, and he wasn't crying at the time or anything. I think he must have been, I'm guessing, like 10, 12 years old, and his arm's backwards. Oh. So I'm like, a buddy of mine was there. He comes over, and I'm trying to stay calm, and so he's calm. The buddy comes over and goes, "Oh my God!" I go, "Will you shut up? Calm down." So I get him in the car, drive him to the hospital, and he's sitting in the back going, "Is my arm going to fall off?" and all this stuff. And now I'm maintaining control because I know I've got to maintain control.
Yeah. You're like, no, it's held together by the skin.
Yeah, no, I said, "You're fine." We just get to the hospital, so we get in there, get him in the emergency room. And now I knew the doctors were there, the nurses were there, they were in control. Again, I started crying again because it was like, I guess now all the emotion just, and he starts laughing at me too. I guess it's a pattern with my sons. They laugh at me when I'm crying.
Yeah, mine do that too.
It was funny because, and he still laughs at me too, but it was funny. He somehow, you'd probably be able to explain this. When people try to medicate him, for whatever reason, they can't, it doesn't stick. Like he's gone to the dentist and
it doesn't for me either.
Yeah. And so they kept drugging him. Listen, he should go, because they had to pull the arm to snap it back in place. And they said, "Listen, you've got to leave the room because we have to get this done." So they did it. And then the drug started to hit him a little bit, and he's kind of wired. He goes, "I could have done it myself. He's going.
He doesn't have red hair, Tom, does he?
No, he does not have red hair. No.
That blows that theory. I've been told that redheaded people are more sensitive to pain, so it actually takes more medication to numb the pain. And I have experienced that myself. It's hard to numb me. Oh. Yeah, and I start talking in the middle of procedures and stuff.
You talk all the time. Here's news for you. That's not a bad thing. So all it tells us stuff too. So, all right, I do need to remind, because we're winding down the time here. This Sunday, October 3rd at 1 o'clock, Westchester Community College, we have the Alzheimer's Walk. Obviously, the numbers are down this year because of they usually expect around 1,500 people, but it could be about 500 now. And again, Team Grasshoppers, I posted on my page. I will post it again, how you can go to Team Grasshoppers and donate or actually go to the walk. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully nice weather and everything. And again, we do have it where our goal is to raise $10,000. We need to get, before these prizes start kicking in, we need to get to the $7,500 level. Whoever puts in $1,000, or excuse me, the person that puts in the most money will then be invited over to my place for a Sunday Sunday meal. And if we get to $10,000, or if we get to $10,000, we'll have where we pick a name out of a hat and have another person come over at that time for the Sunday meal. And then Ron Greshner came up with a great idea too. Whoever puts in $1,000, if we get to 7,500, they get to go to a Ranger game with Ron and I. And if it's $2,000 they put in, they can bring a friend with them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Definitely.
That would be fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And the most important thing, I am the voice of God.
Yes, that's true. You are the voice of God.
I still get such a kick out of that because I consider myself the voice of God anyway. So
right. It's going to be terrifying giving you a microphone and a legit title.
I know, yeah. You're going to have a script for me. I have a script.
No script. You cannot script God's voice.
Yes.
He says when he pleases. That's right. When he pleases.
That's a good point. What I'm going to do is I'll get up there with the script, and the poor woman, she's going to panic. I'll just throw the script away. Script. The voice of God. Ron Greshner. So this, I don't know if Allie, if I've talked too much about this. This is Ron Greshner, a bald god. Oh, he has to start. He thinks he's George Clooney. So Ron has just gone through some health issues. He's up in Winnipeg. His mother just passed away. They had a funeral for her on 9/11. September. Yeah, 9/11. Yes. So he's doing better. His health is better now. We're going to get him eating healthier. God's going to yell at him. Okay, the real important things too. How are we doing on the pull-ups?
Pull-ups are not so good, Tom. I'm sorry, I've been too busy.
So you haven't maintained it?
I haven't maintained my beyond one pull-up.
So you're telling me then that you don't have 30 seconds a day to go over to that bar and do pull-ups?
I do, but I was in that zombie apocalypse battle yesterday and hurt my hand. But I will rise above and I will do it. Right. I will do it for you, Tom.
You should just make yourself a habit. Like set a setting on your phone or a reminder on your phone. Every day at a certain time, you're going to go over and do pull-ups.
Okay, I do. I have been very good about lifting weights and working out in the parking lot. 50 burpees before the hockey game the other day.
All right, nice. Okay, all right. You know what? Then I should back up. I should not be critical of you because you run and everything. It shouldn't be.
Lots of weird stuff. pull-ups privately in my house, that seems so so boring. But burpees in the grass by the parking lot in front of the other hockey parents and the other team with the sunlight coming in on the dewy grass and people taking pictures of me apparently because I'm such a nut. So
It's fantastic. I think it's fantastic you do that. I can imagine watching somebody else do that. It'd be like, this person's a nut. No, maybe not now. Maybe I look at it as a good thing.
Yeah, but I will work on the pull-ups because I got to get the basics in.
Yeah. So some of our, as you know, they're all intelligent people, but Lorraine here is just above and beyond. I love your voice now. I know why. She's such an intelligent woman.
But Lorraine, would you do anything that Tom asked you to do? Like clearly I'm not obeying with the pull-ups.
No. That's right. Let's get Lorraine doing. Lorraine, let's see if she writes. Lorraine, do you do pull-ups? We'll see here. She does pull-ups.
All right. Next week we'll count how many she's done.
That's right, too. We should get that going. Yeah. We should start having a quiz, yes, about who does pull-ups or not.
And you can do assisted pull-ups if you want.
Yes, absolutely. Get the band or get somebody to lift your
60-year-old.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. Lorraine doesn't do that. Okay. But I'm sure Lorraine does something else. She doesn't do pull-ups. She does something else.
But she can do a challenge, Tom.
Yeah, definitely.
Something she does that you don't do, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, definitely.
I wonder what that might be.
I don't know. Yes, that's a good point. All right. That was a good show today. Thank you very much for coming on and straightening out the issue with the dog. So basically then I should not be swayed by my former teammates who want me to be like violent. They want me to go attack the neighbors and the dog.
I think probably for your reputation, stop barking back. Don't shoot them. Let them enjoy their doggy selves and enjoy their happy hour. That's all it is doggy happy hour.
So I should not have a couple of adult beverages and bark myself? You think I should that one time?
I think if you are, I think you should study what they're saying and pick their language so you actually communicate with them. So find the breed and find out how they communicate, and then you can justify it as it's a mating call or something. There
was one dog, I think it was a new dog. I haven't heard him before because now I'm getting to know their voices and everything.
Right.
And he was kind of talking while he was barking. Seriously, like that. You sound like Ron Greshner. Right? You sound like Ron Greshner when he talks.
Yeah, so if it's a legit conversation, Tom, that you're having with the dogs, I think it's fine. But if you're mocking them, it's not okay.
Okay, gotcha. And I guess if I have enough cocktails, then I'll just believe that I really communicate with them and whether it's actually happening or not. Okay.
You'll tell us what you learned from them. It might be some wisdom.
Yeah, good deal. All right, good.
No,
all right, great having you on.
Realized? Dog and God are.
Dog and God, that's right.
The voice of God.
This is all making sense. This is all falling together now. Thank God I talked to you about this. That's right. Dog and God. Oh,
all right.
We are connected. So when I was barking the other night, that was justified.
You were voice of dog. You thought
I was the voice of dog. So I was the voice of dog then, and now I'll be the voice of God.
Yes.
Oh, you are brilliant. No wonder you're an epidemiologist. All right, good to see you. We'll see you next week. See you, everybody.
Okay. See ya.